Annie inadvertently realizes that the soul monster's head-scratching pose actually resembles her own signature move. At first she thinks it's just a coincidence, but later that night she realizes once again that the monster's throwing motion on the news is clearly a reenactment of her angrily slamming her cell phone this morning. Could it be possible that she could manipulate the monster from as far away as Seoul? The thought sends chills down her spine. It turns out that just a few days ago, a giant monster suddenly appeared in Seoul. It rampaged and trampled with abandon, then strangely disappeared a few minutes later. No one knows where it came from, and for a while Seoul is on edge. When Annie realizes that she is somehow connected to the monster, she carefully studies all the videos of the giant beast. After repeatedly comparing time and space coordinates, she finally realizes that every morning at 7:30 a.m., as long as she is standing in this area of the park, the behemoth will appear in Seoul at the same time, making the exact same movements as she does. Seeing her friends discussing the beast with great enthusiasm, she could not hold back any longer, and led her friends to the park, asking them to turn on the live news broadcasts from Seoul, while she herself danced in the designated area. Seeing the monster in the flat screen doing the same moves, the trio was dumbfounded and thought they were on a spoof website, but soon they realized it was all true. What happened was that just as Annie was looking smug, the Korean military fired missiles at the behemoth. The next second pain came from Annie's waist.
They're shooting at you. Missiles.
They're shooting at me?
Angry, she swung her fists into the air and inadvertently managed to smash the opponent's helicopter. Upon realizing that she had killed the pilot, Annie panicked and tried to leave the area, but suddenly failed to stand still and her entire body fell to the ground. It is hard to imagine how many people will be crushed to death by this fall. After waking up and learns of the deaths and injuries in Seoul and regrets it for a moment. Before she can calm down, Johnny brings a second piece of heavy news. Another giant Iron Man has appeared in Seoul. Johnny thinks it's him, since he was the only one who stepped into the area when he saved Annie. This time, Johnny and Annie are in a difficult situation, and after some discussion, they arrive at the park on time. In order to express her heartfelt apologies, Annie enters the area again, looks at the Korean on the note and writes the word sorry in big letters on the ground. After being reported on the news, the citizens began to change their minds about the monster, believing that it did not mean any harm to humans. From then on, Annie never set foot in the park again. Thinking that the farce was over, she started to date the handsome young man among her friends, but unexpectedly it aroused Johnny's jealousy. It turns out that he has always had a crush on Annie, and in his anger he deliberately walks into the area to make fun of her. Learning of this, Annie rushes to the park and orders Johnny to leave the area, only to be rebuffed. In her excitement, Annie throws out a slap in the face, but in the eyes of the Seoul people, this scene becomes a feat of the behemoth to protect the human race to drive away the Iron Man. The behemoth instantly becomes the embodiment of justice, and people even send spoof emoticons. See the news Johnny feel lost face immediately about Annie to the park area, ready to find the dignity of the previous. Unexpectedly, the other party did not intend to spoil him. A heavy punch hit Johnny lost his demeanor. He strangled Annie's neck and pressed her down hard to the ground. Luckily, the next time passed before the two caused any more damage to Seoul. But a still angry Annie opens her door that night to find that Johnny has trespassed. It turns out that he's here to confess his love, and that he's been eager to help Annie before because he's had a crazy crush on the other guy since he was a kid. Through conversation, Annie then realizes Johnny's perverted possessiveness. She suddenly recalls an incident from her childhood. One day when the two of them were on their way to school together, Johnny promised to help her retrieve her handiwork that the wind had blown away, but secretly stepped on it hard with his foot. Unexpectedly, this scene happened to be seen by Annie. In her anger, a sudden bolt of lightning struck the two in the park when she was fantasizing about a monster and Johnny was fantasizing about a robot. It turns out that it was the lightning that gave the two superpowers. After regaining her memory, Annie directly demolishes the other's twisted mind. Rejected, Johnny simply stops pretending as well, and hearing an alarm go off in Seoul on the TV, he smiles wickedly, then runs into the park ahead of him, trying to get back at Annie by destroying it. Annie see brave resistance, but she is a weak woman, which is Johnny's opponent. A few rounds were knocked to the ground, can only watch the other side of the big feet on the ground wantonly trampled back and forth. Johnny also put down harsh words. As long as Annie dare to leave the town, every morning he will come to destroy some. Kindness of Annie simply want to cry. In despair back home, suddenly a bold plan came to mind.